It's stockpiling time for the UK economy. Again. The likely next Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, says we will leave the EU on Halloween, the 31st of October, come what may, do or die, even if that means departing without a deal.
If we were to leave the EU without a transition period, the government itself warns that we could see severe transport disruption and the possible interruption of supplies of food, goods, medicines and industrial parts from the EU, hence the need to stockpile locally.
The government confirmed last week that it would be, once again, looking to secure extra warehousing space for medicines as part of its no-deal preparations. Private companies are also expected to stockpile, just as they did earlier in the year, before the 29th of March deadline.
But hold on, there could be a big problem here. Is there actually the space available to do this stockpiling? Data seen exclusively by Newsnight shows that the estimated nationwide vacancy rate for warehouses of over 100,000 square feet currently stands at just 6.8%. That suggests very little spare capacity to do any kind of extra stockpiling ahead of a potential no-deal Brexit on the 31st of October. The reality is that it may be impossible for many firms to do this kind of stockpiling.
In terms of capacity in the market at the moment, I would say the warehousing sector is running fairly full, pretty much on 100%. There'd be less capacity now than there was in the first quarter of this year in the build-up to the March deadline, because any small amounts of incremental space that were available were taken up. I just don't see there being that amount of space available in the way that perhaps the politicians are thinking it may be at this time.
An additional problem is the timing of the 31st of October Brexit deadline.
So October's coming right at, for our industry, peak season. Peak season normally or historically being the run up to Christmas, but now of course it's not just Christmas, it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and in the non-food sector, those special promotions for Halloween, it's all coinciding around the end of October.
So in many ways, the worst possible time to be expecting a potential stockpiling surge.
Yes, it couldn't have come at a worse time for the logistics industry.
The picture is uneven nationally. The warehouse vacancy rate is as high as 10.6% in the West Midlands and 9.6% in the North West. But the South East has just 3.8% spare capacity. And in the inner M25 area, it's as low as 2.2%. This rate is lower than it was even a year earlier. Wincanton has a 480,000 square foot warehouse in Greenford, West London. Marcus Hart is Wincanton's Group Transformation and Risk Director.
In this warehouse we're running very close to capacity. We are already seeing stock build for Brexit at the moment.
How busy do you anticipate being in that run up to the 31st of October?
Very busy, and traditionally November and December are our busiest periods of the year, so we would be running at or very close to capacity up to and during that period.
Some industry experts say that what really matters is not the vacancy rate, but the amount of space available specifically for short-term let. But for both types of storage, the picture is one of growing stress. This is partly due to the rise of e-commerce as companies like Amazon requisition vast distribution centres. There's also been a lack of new building. New land, say analysts, increasingly tends to be used for residential purposes rather than business storage. Though the national vacancy rate is now 6.8%, as recently as 2009 it was 24%. In the run-up to March, firms seem to have been able to use their spare capacity in their warehouse estates to stockpile. But they may find a nasty shock long before Halloween itself if they try and repeat the same this time round. And so might the next Prime Minister if he thinks UK businesses and the UK economy can be ready for the fallout of a no-deal Brexit.